The movie begins by showing a team of U.S. military arriving at the border between Arizona and Mexico. They begin unloading crates of advanced weapons, but it's not clear why. Suddenly, they get surprised and attacked by a man named Machete and his girlfriend, Agent Sartana. Both Machete and Sartana realize that these men were planning to sell weapons to the Mexican cartel, and indeed, the cartel shows up and kills all the military men. When Machete and Sartana are about to be executed, a group of masked soldiers appears and starts shooting at them. In the chaos, Sartana pleads with Machete to help her fight the masked soldiers. To avoid upsetting his girlfriend, Machete finally agrees and starts fighting the cartel members. In the meantime, Sartana tries to get a weapon from a military truck, but discovers it's a big missile. Suddenly, she is startled by the appearance of a masked man named Rey Mysterio. The man shoots Sartana in the head, and sadly, she dies. Machete finds Sartana's lifeless body. As he's about to be attacked by another masked man, the Arizona sheriff arrives and scares the masked man away. However, instead of helping Machete, the sheriff arrests him, accusing him of killing Sartana. Machete denies this accusation, explaining that Sartana was his beloved girlfriend. But the sheriff, annoyed by Machete, orders his deputy named Cleburne to kick the bench from under Machete's feet, trying to hang him. Although Machete is left hanging from the rope, he doesn't die. On the flip side, Dokes gets a call from the President of the United States, who asks for his help to free Machete and bring him to the White House. Once Machete is released, he is taken to meet President Rathcock. There, he learns about a dangerous Mexican cartel leader named Marcos Mendez, who plans to launch missiles at Washington, D.C., unless Mexico faces an attack to end corruption in the country. Rathcock orders Machete to find and eliminate Mendez. At first, Machete refuses, but Rathcock promises him U.S. citizenship and urges him to do it for his late girlfriend, Sartana. Eventually, Machete agrees. Rathcock then sends Machete to San Antonio, Texas, to meet with the contact who will guide him on his mission. In San Antonio, Machete meets his contact, Blanca Vasquez, who is also known as Miss San Antonio. Vasquez informs Machete about Mendez's plans and advises him to travel to Acapulco, Mexico, to find Mendez's daughter, Cereza. She explains that Cereza can lead Machete to Mendez. Vasquez arranges for Machete to fly to Acapulco, and from there, he parachutes down and lands on a tree. Machete then heads to a brothel owned by Madame Desdemona, who is also Cereza's mother. He shows Madame a photo of Cereza and asks her to arrange a meeting with her. Instead of calling Cereza, Madame Desdemona shoots Machete, and her men start chasing him. Machete manages to escape and finds Cereza in a room. Cereza is attracted to Machete and agrees to go with him. After fleeing the brothel, Machete and Cereza wait at the dock for their journey to meet Mendez. During this time, Machete reveals that Mendez has two personalities, one good and the other evil. As they are picked up by a man named Zerer and two revolutionaries to fly to Mendez's headquarters, Zerer receives a message from Mendez to kill Cereza. Tragically, Zerer shoots Cereza in the stomach and throws her out of the helicopter, leading to her death. Upon reaching the base, Machete finally meets Mendez, who indeed has an evil personality and possesses a very large missile. The problem is that the missile's trigger is connected to Mendez's heart. If Mendez dies, the missile will launch against the US. Mendez informs Machete that only two people in the world know how to disarm the trigger. Unfortunately, Zerer suddenly kills one of these individuals, leaving Machete with the task of finding the remaining person who can disarm the trigger. In an attempt to secure Mendez, Machete takes him hostage. However, the revolutionaries have a different plan. They want to see the US destroyed and, as a result, wish to kill Mendez. When Machete takes Mendez away, Mendez accidentally activates the missile's trigger, setting it to launch within 24 hours. While trying to escape with Mendez, Zerer confronts Machete and attacks him, but Machete manages to kill Zerer in a brutal way. Machete then flees with Mendez in a helicopter. During the helicopter ride, Machete receives a call from Vasquez and the president, asking him to take Mendez across the border. However, Machete refuses because the missile's trigger is connected to Mendez's heart. He insists on finding someone who can disarm the trigger, and that person works for a tech company called Vostech. As the helicopter flies over the ocean, two revolutionaries in speedboats try to shoot them down. Machete leaps with Mendez and lands on their boat, swiftly neutralizing the attackers. He then steers the boat towards the dock, where more revolutionaries are waiting. At full speed, Machete leaps out of the boat just before it crashes into the dock, using the speedboat's turbine to take down the attackers. When Machete brings Mendez to the mainland, Mendez's good personality starts to emerge, and he seems to have no recollection of the trigger in his heart. Mendez becomes desperate when Machete reveals that he ordered Zerer to kill Cereza for betraying them. On the other hand, at a Mexican radio station, one of the revolutionaries enters and forces the host to announce over the radio that a reward of $20 million will be given to anyone who kills Machete and Mendez. This news is heard not only by Machete's allies, but also by the head of the underground network, Luz. In another location, an unknown man enters a bar and reveals himself to the bartender as El Camaleon, a notorious assassin whose face nobody has ever seen. He kills the bartender, changes his appearance with a new disguise, and leaves the bar. However, two people witnessed El Camaleon's true face, so he kills them as well. After receiving a notification about the reward for killing Machete, he plans to target him. Meanwhile, Machete and Mendez visit a Mexican restaurant, but everyone there recognizes them and intends to attack. A policeman named Chepo points his gun at Mendez, which triggers Mendez's aggressive side, and he swiftly defeats Chepo. This leads to the police arriving to arrest them, but Machete manages to escape with Mendez, while fighting off the people who want them dead. In a daring move, Machete cuts off the gas line, causing an explosion that destroys the restaurant. In the meantime, El Camaleon arrives at a garage and discovers that Machete has been spotted at Villa Guerrera. He asks for directions to the villa from a man in the garage, but when the man fails to answer correctly, El Camaleon quickly kills him. Realizing that his face was caught on camera, El Camaleon removes his second mask and disguises himself as Lady Gaga. Machete takes Mendez to a clinic for treatment after he was shot in the restaurant. While at the clinic, the women who work for Desdemona's gang suddenly show up. Machete improvises by causing a bag of blood to explode in the microwave, distracting the women. Amidst the chaos, Desdemona reveals a weapon hidden in her bra. However, Machete manages to attack her successfully and escapes with Mendez. On their way by car, Mendez opens up to Machete about his true identity. He reveals that he was never part of the cartel. Instead, he was the first Mexican secret agent, determined to put an end to corruption in his country. Unfortunately, his superior betrayed him, and as a cruel act of revenge, they brutally killed Mendez's first wife and daughter right before his eyes. This devastating event drove Mendez to the brink of madness, leading him to seek vengeance by killing his supervisor and the men involved. Afterward, Mendez got involved in a big business deal with the man who had sold him the missiles, presumably for his own purposes. In a nutshell, Machete and Mendez go to a used car store to find a decent vehicle. There, they encounter a deceitful shopkeeper who plans to kill them for money. As they are about to be attacked, a group of assassins shows up, but Machete cleverly takes them out, including a man in a wheelchair. Machete and Mendez then escape in an armored car, but face more danger when La Camaleon, Desdemona, and her prostitutes attempt to kill them. Machete manages to throw a bomb knife, causing Desdemona's vehicle to explode, and Camaleon accidentally causes Desdemona's car to overturn. Despite Desdemona's attempts to shoot them, Machete escapes once again. They eventually make their way to the US through a secret passageway beneath the border wall. Upon arriving in Arizona, Dokes and Cleburne are prepared to kill Machete. However, Mendez acts quickly and throws his knife, injuring Dokes' hand, and then proceeds to kill Cleburne. Unfortunately, the masked men from earlier in the film, led by Zerer, appear once again. Mendez approaches Zerer, but tragically, Zerer beheads Mendez, while Machete is shot by the masked men. The scene shifts to Machete, who wakes up in a pond inside Vostech Industries, the company responsible for the missile. He is greeted by Luther Voss, the owner of Vostech, and the man who supplied the missile to Mendez. Voss shows Machete a jar containing Mendez's still beating heart, indicating that the missile's countdown is still active. Voss explains that Machete is lying in a healing pool. Voss takes Machete on a tour of his company, and they ride in a Star Wars-inspired car. Voss reveals that he has foreseen a future where the world has come to an end. To prepare for this, Voss has built a rocket that will take him and those who wish to join him into space before the world's destruction. In addition to his creation of the rocket, Voss has also developed a highly advanced super army using kinetic engineering, including cloned versions of Zerer. Voss sets Machete against the clone Zerer, but Machete skillfully defeats all the clones with a weapon he finds. Impressed by Machete's intelligence and talent, Voss offers him a chance to join him. However, Machete learns of Voss's sinister plan to have people like Mendez positioned in other countries with missiles aimed at the rest of the world. Voss's ultimate goal is to destroy the world while he escapes to space. Realizing the madness of Voss's plan, Machete escapes with one of Voss's weapons and gets into the Star Wars-inspired car. Voss's men chase him, but Machete uses a molecular deactivation weapon he found and takes down Voss's men without leaving any survivors. Machete continues to run, with Voss's men hot on his trail. He spots Luz's helicopter and comes up with a daring plan. Using a hook, Machete swings onto the propeller, beheading Voss's men simultaneously. With his enemies taken care of, Machete boards the helicopter piloted by Luz. Luz takes Machete to the network headquarters under her management. She introduces him to Osiris Amanpour, the man who killed Machete's brother in a previous film. Amanpour expresses remorse for his past actions and asks for a chance to redeem himself. Machete agrees to give him that chance. While in the headquarters, Vasquez contacts Machete and asks him to meet at a rendezvous point. Later that night, Machete meets Vasquez at the rendezvous point, unaware that Luz, Amanpour, and Davis are observing them from a distance. Vasquez has set up this meeting with the intention of capturing Machete. It turns out Vasquez has been working for Voss, and he wants to bring Machete back before Voss can. However, Machete puts up a fight, leading to a shootout between Vasquez's group and Luz's group. Unfortunately, Davis is killed in the crossfire. During the chaos, Machete chases Vasquez, but he manages to escape by driving away in his car. Machete tries to follow in Vasquez's car, but ends up falling and fails to catch him. The next day, Machete wakes up in the desert and meets a seemingly helpful truck driver who offers him a ride. However, the truck driver suddenly attacks Machete and reveals himself to be El Camaleon. Camaleon explains how he took on different disguises, including Lady Gaga and Zorro, in order to deceive and kill people. While Machete digs a grave, he discovers a tunnel used by Mexicans to sneak across the border. He decides to enter the tunnel, with Camaleon following closely behind. Inside the tunnel, Camaleon encounters a group of rednecks guarding it and meets his demise at their hands. Machete manages to make it out of the tunnel and is taken back to his hiding place. With only half an hour left before the missile launch, Machete, Luz, and her network come up with a plan to infiltrate and go undercover at a space shuttle inauguration party hosted by Vostok Industries. During Voss's speech about his project at the space shuttle inauguration party, Machete interrupts and reveals Voss's plan to end the world and escape to space. Chaos ensues as members of the network and Voss's troops engage in a shootout. In the midst of the chaos, Machete chases after Voss, while Vasquez shoots Luz in the left eye. Machete and Amanpour discover Mendez's heart, but Amanpour finds it too complex to disarm. Just as they are about to attempt to disarm it, Voss appears and shoots out the heart, triggering the missile's launch in 5 minutes. Voss then aims the molecular deactivation weapon at Machete, but Amanpour sacrifices himself by blocking the shot, which ends up hitting him instead. Machete stumbles upon Rey Mysterio's mask, which reveals that it was Voss who killed Sartana, his beloved girlfriend. Filled with anger, Machete duels with Voss using various weapons. During the fight, Machete spits fire into Voss's face, causing it to melt. Voss retreats to another room to retrieve a silver mask. while Luz, who is now blind but determined, manages to kill Vasquez. However, Vaz activates carbonite gas, causing Luz to freeze in place. Vaz then gathers the party guests and network captives to take them with him into space. Despite being blind to technology, Machete bravely embraces the missile and flies with it. He locates the missile's core and cuts the blue wires inside, deactivating it and causing it to crash into the river. Not long after, President Rathcock and his men locate Machete and express gratitude for disabling the missiles. The president assigns Machete a new mission, which is to go to space and capture Vaz. Machete prepares for the mission and disguises himself as an astronaut. He boards a rocket that will take him to confront and defeat Vaz once and for all. The movie concludes with Machete embarking on his daring mission to space. And that's how the movie ends. The moral of the story is that when in doubt, always remember that even in space, a trusty rocket and a skilled astronaut can save the day.